Well, good morning. I'm Craig Casto. I'm with Dow Chemical. I'm the global leader for Dow's expertise center that oversees what we refer to as enabling technologies. That includes sensors, auto ID technology such as RFID, GPS, barcoding, and tank telemetry. So how does that play into risk management? Well, we are leveraging these technologies for a number of different purposes. Risk management, risk mitigation being one of them. And with Dow, we were, I'm not going to tell you a whole lot about Dow. I think you probably are aware of Dow. But we have a number of businesses across the board. So we have lots of opportunities for diversity in the supply chain. You know, we might be shipping bottles and cartons on pallets. We might be shipping rail cars. We might be shipping trucks, corn, genetically engineered corn, bags, that type of thing. So we actually support all the different divisions of Dow, businesses of Dow, and then the different functional groups. So my group might be involved with our construction leaders, our manufacturing leaders, our supply chain leaders. We even get involved with legal sometimes in terms of tracking documents. So we do a lot of implementations of enabling technologies, and to a large extent, especially in the supply chain, that really speaks to our risk mitigation. Dow has a pretty comprehensive risk management approach, especially in the area of distribution and transportation. The chemicals that we produce, 90% are non-hazardous products that we ship. The 10%, though, are products that, if there was a release, could cause damage in the community. So as a result, we are all about responsible care activities, and we're using technology to help us in the supply chain network. You know, certainly once a shipment leaves our plant, we have limited control over the shipment in the supply chain. And technology helps us to kind of shore that up. And I'll give you some examples as we move forward. We also have a number of breakthrough efforts going on related to asset and work process improvements. Some of this you'll see here in a few minutes. Others really relate to how we are leveraging the technologies for multiple purposes. Certainly some are risk mitigation, but others are the same technology can also have an opportunity or provide an opportunity for customer satisfaction, customer improvement, visibility of our inventory. So there's some inventory savings opportunities. So some of that will become clear here in a minute. The last thing is we found that we can't manage everything that we do. The risk mitigation kind of comes into play with some software capabilities that we're building into all these solutions related to event management, where we're building in business rules that, when violated, drive alerts in the form of email messages or text messages that come in, so we can move more towards a monitor by exception basis. Dow ships about 7,000 shipments every day. So to be able to manage that, this event management approach is how we do that. And the business rules can actually provide and play into different areas. You know, it can be something as simple as, you know, if a sensor is set off on a shipment while it's in transit, you know, due to maybe a temperature extreme being reached, or maybe there's a shock element of the shipment being dropped from a gantry crane, or something like that, we can be notified immediately and take quick action on it. So that has certainly helped us with the capability of mitigating risk. The technologies that my expertise center has responsibility for provide a lot of visibility into these shipments. And combining that with sensor technology, you know, to monitor temperature, to monitor humidity, shock, security of a shipment, All that kind of comes into play in driving these business rules and alerts. This slide kind of speaks to 50,000-foot view of container tracking. We're talking about in this slide here, or this section here, various modes. That can be a bottle, that can be a drum, that can be a truck, that can be a ship, a barge, any number of things. And we're leveraging, based on the business requirements, basically RFID, GPS, or barcoding. The business requirements, what they're after, determines what technology we deploy. It also helps us build the value case to support this going forward. So we are, and I'll show you examples of each of these, using all of these auto ID tools in our toolbox. Most of these tracking solutions are integrated into a web portal of some sort. That web portal is where we house the event management capability as well as GIS mapping. Dow has an e-business group. Our portal is My Account at Dow. So our customers ultimately will be able to see the shipment, where their shipments are, from a visibility standpoint. From a risk mitigation standpoint, we can also monitor where our shipments are and the condition that they're in. So a lot of effort going into that. This gentleman down here in the corner can be a Dow person, of course. It can be a customer. It can be a supply chain partner. So depending on the profile that we establish into the web portal determines, the functionality that they can have in the system. And we are in the process, for those that heard the morning topic, Carrie Schaller from Dow mentioned that we're in the process of updating our SAP instance. And so these tracking solutions will be integrated into our SAP instance going forward. I'll talk a little bit more specifics on some of these different modal technology solutions. Dow uses today, we have the largest privately owned rail fleet certainly in the U.S. and Canada, and I think in the world. We're up to about 35,000 rail cars. Each one of those rail cars has 2 RFID tags, as does every rail car that moves in the United States and Canada, be it a coal car, a grain car, flat car, box car. They all use RFID technology. The RFID technology, the major rail lines have RFID readers that are positioned at strategic points on the rail lines. And as the car passes, it creates what's called a car location message that ultimately is accumulated in Washington, and we get, as a car owner, 4 times a day updates on the car positions. And for 90% of our rail shipments, that is still sufficient tracking information for our non-hazardous products. The information, these devices have a basic configuration where they have a little bit of intelligence. It knows the date and time and its location. So as that RAIX 6000 rail car passes by, it knows that it was 10 a.m. It was Kansas City, Kansas on, February 13th. So that type of information comes back to us. Where we're more concerned is the 10% of our shipments that are classified as toxic inhalation hazard products. And for those products like chlorine or ethylene oxide that would have the potential for creating a disaster, we track those extremely close and feel that the RFID technology isn't sufficient. So we have deployed a 2-way duplex GPS device on those rail cars. So not only can we receive information as to the car location and the sensor information on these cars from the car itself at defined intervals, but we can also ping those cars and get a response back within 5 minutes. So we have had a lot of success with this particular program. Our initiative that we started rolling out in 2006 on this fleet of TIH rail cars has been embraced by the TSA, Department of Homeland Security, as best practice in this space. And as a result, the government or TSA actually created grant money for chemical companies to deploy similar technologies on their TIH fleets. That was the good news. They followed our model. The bad news was we weren't eligible since we were already deployed for the grant money. But nonetheless, certainly very active technology. The rail car on the bottom, you can see these yellow spots. That represents different sensor technology that's on the car. The devices themselves, and this particular larger device is actually located right here on the side of the car, is a GPS device. And in this particular example, these are cellular-based GPS devices, so it leverages the cellular network. The device, the larger of the two, actually creates a Wi-Fi network over the car and allows you to integrate wireless sensors to the GPS device. From a security standpoint, the sensor that's on the top there at the dome actually is very similar to a burglar alarm system you might have on the front door of your house, in that if that dome opens, it wakes up the GPS device. The GPS device takes its current position coordinates and determines if it's inside a Dow plant, which we have geofenced, or if it's at a customer facility. Both, you would expect the dome of the car to be open. If it is, it does nothing. It goes back to sleep. If it's not inside one of those geofences, though, it leverages the event management rule that says, if it's not inside a Dow property, the dome opens, then that's a potential security breach. And as a result, it sends a message into Chemtrack, the first responder for the American Chemistry Council for all chemical companies, and they determine what railroad the car is on based on the position and dispatch the security for that particular railroad that the car is on. So that's a terrific example of how we're leveraging tracking, GPS tracking information as well as sensor technology to mitigate our risk associated with TIH shipments. There's a lot of other features with this. I won't get into a lot of it, but some of these other sensors actually monitor the mechanical health of the car. So if there's something wrong, probably the easiest one is there's a sensor that monitors if a workman has left the handbrake on the car. And if the locomotive is dragging the car down the track, creating a flat spot on that wheel, it will actually send an alert and ultimately to the railroad to say, hey, you're dragging this car down the road or down the track with a handbrake on. So a lot of potential here with sensor technology combined with GPS. This is an example of the web interface where we're leveraging GIS mapping to determine the location of these cars and monitor the location of the cars. It actually posts both the GPS transmission that's on a defined interval, but it also incorporates, again, these cars also have the RFID tags on them. It incorporates the tag passings as well. So we get a complete listing of all the car positions, either from the GPS reports or the tag passings. The other thing it does is that it gives us the status of each of the sensors that are on a car. So if a dome is open, a hatch, a valve, that type of thing, we're able to monitor that remotely. And again, we have the event management software built into this as well. We have our Dow plants, certain locations within the Dow plant, we have geofenced as well. So we can also determine if a car is situated in a certain area of the plant, chances are it's around the maintenance shop, then we would assume that it's in maintenance, that type of capability. So that's a little bit about rail. We do a lot of intermodal container shipments. Basically, similar approach, leveraging a device that's mounted on the door of the container when it's shut. You can see on the outside, this is actually a combination of cellular and satellite technology. When it's on the outside and the door's shut, and on the inside is this bottom portion of the tag. That houses the various sensors in the technology. Sensors there would be humidity, light, shock, and temperature. The light sensor actually is used to log the door openings on a particular shipment. So, we recognize that throughout the shipment voyage that there's going to be several occasions that the doors are going to be open to check blocking and bracing, that type of thing, by the shipping lines or what have you. So there's not an expectation that that door opens, somebody is breaching it. But we can actually tell, exactly where the container is and know that it is in a port, in a container yard, and, chances are the opening is related to, a check by the shipping line. So this information, again, allows us to track. We typically can track these containers using the cellular network up to about 3 miles offshore. Then it'll switch over to satellite. So we've got a combination. These pink spots actually represent cellular networks. This shipment was going to the area north of Mumbai. And we're able to, track it and see where our inventory is. And business rules like, if we have a rule that a container shouldn't sit in port longer than 3 days, then it can drive an email alert to the transportation specialist that can then follow up and make sure that it moves to meet a customer delivery. This is an example, again, of the sensor information coming in from these boxes. This is a temperature log for the voyage. This is a humidity log. And this happens to be an alert where we set a low parameter of 5% on humidity, a high of 90. So when it hit a 91% level, it actually sent an alert to us. And on this particular shipment, we had 5 boxes that within about 10 minutes all transmitted an alert to us. And in checking that, what we found was that our boxes typically sit on top of the deck of these large vessels. And we were actually going through a storm off the coast of England, taking water over the bow, caused the humidity to go up. So information that we've never had before, but it also speaks to mitigating risk. This is an interesting technology that we've started to deploy in what we refer to as high threat areas. We have had GPS tracking, and all of our carriers have GPS tracking on their trucks for our shipments. But in some of these high threat areas where we might experience a hijacking attempt, we have started to deploy a covert GPS device in with the cargo itself. These are 2 examples that you can see. They're cellular based. This one is the one I like because it's about the size of a big cigarette lighter. So it's extremely small. And as you can see, it will actually fit inside a bottle. So some of the pharmaceutical companies are starting to leverage this type of technology. And it doesn't prevent hijackings, but it enables us to do cargo recovery. And so we've had good success with this type of technology. Typically, when a hijacking occurs, the robbers will disable the GPS on the truck. They'll just put a bucket over it or hit it with a hammer or something. But they don't take the time to go through the cargo and actually look for additional GPS devices. So this is one element of our security that we have in these high-risk areas. These also are included in a monitoring, so we track them with a monitoring service, wherever they might be. This is a relatively new technology for us. We have done vendor-managed inventory for years, but in this particular case, we are working with a company that has a very small device that is also cellular-based. This is about the size of a flip phone, if you remember flip phones prior to smartphones. But the device itself can fit on a 55-gallon drum or an IBC tote, and not only does it provide liquid level information, but it provides location information. So again, from a risk mitigation standpoint, we're able to monitor some of these products that we ship. We can determine liquid levels, temperature of the product, cellular signal strength, and battery life on a web portal. The other thing, though, is that it also provides GPS location of these, and it is in itself, especially for these IBC totes, it also provides an opportunity to improve your asset utilization, your fleet management. Now that we know where these things are, we know if they're full or empty. We typically might have a milk run type of pickup schedule for these, and we have more information related to that. So lots of other benefits with these in addition to risk mitigation. I think this is my last slide. I just wanted to show you that barcodes are still very viable. In this particular example, this speaks to our brand protection, our anti-counterfeiting efforts, especially for agricultural chemicals. We're seeing quite an influx of counterfeit products on the market. And one area that we've been working on is that we're using an anti-counterfeiting label that has some unique characteristics to it. It's a very overt solution, so that's why I'm talking about it today. It's one that we were going to be advertising and educating our consumers on. But it's a form of printing called intaglia print. And I don't know if any of you have a $20 bill in your wallet, but if you do, pull it out and rub your finger across Andrew Jackson's cloak. And what you'll feel is the pinstriping in his cloak. Well, that engraved type feel is a form of intaglia print. So for us, this happens to be the Dow AgriScience logo. The ribs in that ball actually can be felt as you rub your finger across it. So we're educating our consumers, and for agricultural chemicals, that's farmers and distributors, that type of consumer, to this technology. But in addition, we are marrying with it QR code technology, barcode technology. And the beauty of combining the two technologies is they can actually feel with the intaglia print on the left side of that label that it's an authentic Dow label, and then be assured when they scan it with their smartphone that they're scanning a unique barcode in this case. What it does is it launches them to a site that we have set up for mobile. It provides them with a statement as to the authenticity of the product, and then it provides them with the serial number for that bottle. All of our shipments are moving towards a serialization type approach, so each bottle is going to be unique. And in this example, it tells them the product name, the country of registration, and it determines where they are in the world when they scan it. So that in itself has some benefits to us in terms of identifying parallel imports or gray market type diversions as well. But the device also being a touch screen, has a button that launches them into a web portal. And in some cases, some of these web portals that we have set up are for MSDS sheets as an example. So a lot of capabilities still with barcodes, with tracking and knowing a little bit more about our customers.